Thanks for joining us tonight. We're going to continue our endeavors with SolidWorks, and this is primarily going to just be a quick presentation to go over some tips and tricks with sketches and features and just a refresher of everything we did last week. And then we'll split up into our groups and get to actually modeling this part right here. So this is called a Geneva drive. In the Discord, you can see Andy shared a good animation of it. Yeah, take it away, Andy. I'll let you go ahead.
So yeah, first we're going to go over some little tricks to make SolidWorks easier and faster, because maybe to begin with it won't seem that important, but once you get a little bit more experience, you're going to want these little things you can do to just sort of make your workflow more efficient, essentially. So you don't have to move your mouse as many times, you don't have to press as many keys, that kind of things, fewer clicks. Then we're going to do some practice in groups, little sketching practice. And then, yeah, as Brian said, we're going to start working on this little assembly right here, which you will hopefully get one of your very own eventually after you CAD it. So yeah, and you're working from drawings. Bryce, who's not here right now, a kind of a veteran club member, put together this CAD and then some drawings of the CAD, and you're essentially sort of going backwards from the drawings back to CAD. And this assembly is designed to sort of incorporate a lot of different modeling techniques. Not everything by any means, but lots of, particularly as far as sketches go, you'll get some experience with different sketch features.
As we talked about last week, the first part in creating a part is setting your unit system. Otherwise, you'll have to go back and change all of your dimensions again, just because it'll automatically convert. If you type in 10 and you are in inches and you really need that to be 10 millimeters, it'll actually convert those 10 inches if you go figure out you didn't switch your units later on from 10 inches into whatever that is in millimeters. So it'll be a big pain in the butt. Everything will be scaled. So once you've assigned your unit system as well as your material, if you need to do any kind of structural analysis or density and volume to calculate your masses, you can select your sketch plane and make your sketch. So you can select top, front, or right. And then you can use that sketch to make your first feature. And then from there, you can just build up and up and up, using more and more features and sketches in order to add to the complexity of your part.
So this is a mechanical drawing. You'll learn how to make these and how to make things from these. You'll learn these in Cornerstone as well, or you already have. This is basically a flat sheet, a 2D projection of a 3D object. So to portray that 3D object, you need to have a bunch of different views. So you'll always get, one side and then another side. So top view, isometric, front view, and side view. Those are all pretty standard. They're all pretty standardly kind of in those positions. You'll notice that in this picture, the top view looks just like top view, and the front view looks like just like you rotated it down. And then the side view looks like you went over like this. So it all it's laid out in a way that makes sense, and it is very useful. These little filled in parts in the middle part, that means it's been cut in half. That means it is filled in itself. Again, so when we make this little nifty part that everyone's been talking so much about, we're going to be giving you drawings, and you're going to be making the SolidWorks from the drawings. If you have a good person who's making drawings, anything that isn't immediately obvious is shown.
Yeah, so you guys are going to be provided with drawings, and basically you'll be reconstructing based on those. I'm going to dive into a little bit of the tips and tricks that are available in SolidWorks. There's a ton, like there's tons of resources just on YouTube about various ways you can make your life better in SolidWorks. But these are just 3 that we wanted to make sure we mentioned because they're like immediately pertinent. So the first one is if you want to select a circular edge. SolidWorks has a lot of default settings for like what it's going to try to select first for you. If you notice that you're trying to select the specific part of a circle or any other sort of edge, try holding down the shift button, and SolidWorks will toggle it from meaning one particular part of that circle to another part. So in this case, you can see dimension D2 on the right between those 2 circles. By default, SolidWorks will try to dimension between the center points of the circles when you click on them. If you hold down the shift button, it'll choose to do the furthest most basically a tangent line directly from the side of the circle. So little things like that, holding down shift will change how SolidWorks interacts with the thing that you're clicking on. So just mess around with that and you'll get a feel for it. Another cool trip is basically you can enter an arc while sketching a line. So this is more, it's easier for you to just do. So we're going to break into a breakout room right after this and you'll get the feel for it. But basically if you're drawing a straight line and suddenly you want to curve, you don't have to go ahead and find the toolbar and click on arc. You can actually just drag your mouse out and flick into the point that is the edge of your line, and it'll toggle into an arc tool. So, and then you can also change the direction of that arc by flicking again into the end point of your line. And that's basically what these bullet points are saying. It's just in more precise terms. And I'll try to give you guys the a feel for it once we break into our breakout rooms. But yeah, just know you don't have to click on the arc tool to get to it. You can also just flick into your line. Finally, using construction geometry. We mentioned this a little bit last week. Construction geometry is basically your way of dimensioning things without telling SolidWorks that I want this to be a solid line. There's 2 ways you can get into it. You can either, when you're in the sketch tool, you can click the little checkbox that's circled in the bottom right here, which is for construction while you're drawing, or there's a couple drop-down menus that you can click on as you're going into the line tool. And again, we'll go into more detail now that we're breaking out. To basically practice the 3 techniques that I just described, these are the 3 steps that we're going to be following here. Example, like step 1 will be for basically highlighting the outermost point of a circle. Section 2 is basically going to allow you to quickly hop into the arc tool. And finally, section 3 is going to be using construction geometry. So yeah, if breakout rooms want to go ahead and guide their students, that'd be great.
So we talked about some handy features for sketches last time, and features have the same sort of little shortcuts, right, that make things easier. One of the really important ones is reference geometry. And so you can make planes and axes and probably some other stuff as well that can help you sort of create parts, but parts that reference things that aren't necessarily in your part to start with. So for example, you can make a plane that is offset from a surface on your part. And sometimes that's useful because you want other features to be a set distance away from a feature that already exists. You can make a mid-plane, and I think we're probably going to be using some of this stuff in the parts we're modeling in a bit, which will be a better way to sort of illustrate it, right? Learning by doing for this stuff is probably the good way to go. So yes, reference geometry. Mirroring is super useful because a lot of times things are symmetric and then you only have to make half of it, which makes your sketches simpler, makes your part simpler, and then you can just mirror it and have your finished part. And patterning is also super useful. So as is shown in the bottom here, you can make a circular pattern of holes. You can make like linear patterns of things as well. There's a lot of repeated features that come up, right? And this is just an easy way to do that because you only have to make your feature once, and then you can make as many copies of it as you need instead of making it a bunch of different times.
All right, so I guess now we'll practice some of the things that Becky just mentioned in our breakout groups. And then I think it would make sense for us to transition into making the parts that Bryce kind of created for the Geneva mechanism. So just kind of like transition into that once you finish this exercise.